About this Mets series loss in DC to the Nationals, everybody, is that one, we're not surprised, and two, we can't even say that's unbelievable. What we can say is that it is inexcusable, is what it is. Mets fans, do not hold back from telling me exactly how you feel. I'm about to lose my effing mind to break down what was the latest game for this Mets team after dropping a nail-biting one-run loss after you teased a rally in Game 2 of this three-game set in DC, losing yesterday by a final score of 5-4. You have the Simone Southpaw on the bump today, and Sean Manaea facing fellow Southpaw Mackenzie Gore. Mackenzie Gore somehow, someway has a lesser outing than Sean Manaea when it comes to the actual innings he pitched. And even then, with Manaea having one more out that he had himself to utilize, the Mets were not able to secure themselves the series victory. In a day where Mackenzie Gore allows 3 earned runs on just 4.1 effing innings, is the same day that Sean Manaea cannot get out of his own mess yet again there from the 4th to 5th inning. It starts with Pete Alonso having a blunder and everything else unraveling from there. The second and third turn in the order are batting practice for Sean Manaea, as that loose body a loose body in his elbow is clearly an issue for him. It goes in direct hand with why we're not getting the length that we need from Manaea. If your name is not David Peterson, you have provided no length for this Mets rotation whatsoever. This is now the 62nd consecutive game this season that a Mets starter outside of David Peterson has not been able to provide you anything of quality getting into the 6th and or 7th inning. This is a record going back to 1901 of incompetence when it comes to the Mets and the rotation woes. The same thing that we've been calling out all season long, it continues to plague them yet again. Now you're in DC, you're facing the Nationals. Mackenzie Gore's out of the ballgame in not even 5 effing innings, and you mean to tell me that this Mets team cannot hit the bullpen and save their life? Just like yesterday, as the Mets bats rolled over and died as soon as they faced the bullpen. The sorry bullpen for the sorry Washington Nationals, who are currently now on the season 52-75. The Mets just dropped their latest series, and they did not even win a single effing series, if I'm not mistaken, against the Nats in DC. If they did, it goes back to April, because when the Mets were there in June, they split this series 2-2. Now they dropped 2 out of 3 games against the Nationals. If you guys do not think that the Mets have a problem, if you guys are not genuinely concerned about the Mets and their playoff hopes, then I got a bridge to sell you. Because as we currently talk now, everybody, with the Mets dropping this latest ball game in a horrendous fashion by a final score of 9-3, that we're going to break down our latest Mets postgame show right here, right now, presented by our amazing sponsors at Moo and SeatGeek, but more on them later on, everybody. Just take a look at this nonsense with me. Look at the playoff configuration, everybody. All the Cincinnati Reds need is a win, and they're going to leapfrog the Mets there for first place. That is how close we are. And I say first place, I meant to say the final wild card spot now. The Mets are just, again, a half game up currently on the Cincinnati Reds. All it takes is one more victory for the Reds, and the Mets are officially, for the first time since going back to the beginning of the season, basically, are out of a playoff spot. Not only is it inexcusable for the Mets to lose in the fashion the way that they did today, but I'm sorry, how can you not be disheartened by this Mets team? Every single time that they show us some semblance of life, some reason to get excited, some type of way to get us going as a fan and say, hey, I understand the season isn't over. There's still a month plus or so left of games to be had. There is still reality that the Mets can come back and get on a run here. While that is true, it is really hard to get on board with that notion that it's actually going to happen. The Mets have played sorry baseball for 2+ months now. The Mets have played more bad baseball than they have played good baseball all season long. And in case you're wondering, Wardy, how can that happen? How can that be for this Mets team? The Mets have a winning record right now of 67-60, just 7 games up above 500 when we were 21 games up earlier this year. How can they have had more bad games than good games? And the simple answer to that is, you can go ahead and win games that you're not supposed to win. You can go ahead and win games while not playing good baseball. The Mets pitching far exceeded expectations that we saw in the first half of the season, and as soon as that started to get exposed, we knew it was going to be the demise of this club. How will the Mets make proper adjustments with their offense? Well, the problem is, everybody, is that if their offense is not scoring 8 to 9 runs a game, they're not scoring anything. In a game where you had a clear opportunity, prime opportunity to beat up on a Nationals bullpen. Again, keywords here, Mackenzie Gore gave you no length if you're the Washington Nationals, and it still did not matter. This Mets offense, I got up early. Let's not forget, everybody, remember the Mets actually had a lead in this ballgame. The Mets were actually winning this ballgame initially by at least 2 runs, if not 3. Yet, in a very fitting fashion, the same way that the Mets lost 14 of 16 games that just ended over this past week of terrible baseball, they're right back on that high horse because they have Yet another game where they had a multi-run lead and they absolutely let it go away. Not only is it disheartening and frustrating to see the Mets offense roll over and die as soon as they have prime opportunity to be up on a lesser bullpen, Sean Manaea, again, is cruising as a surprise to absolutely nobody, everybody. Sean Manaea begins this ball game and he's dominating early. He strikes out 5 batters in the first 2 innings or so that he faces. Then he's batting practice. Then he's hanging pitches right over the plate. Then Sean Manaea gets further exposed yet again for a man that's had an injury-plagued season, has not been that guy. Between the loose body and his elbow that he's playing through and not having a proper spring training, Sean Manaea continues to not be that guy lengthwise that this Mets team desperately needs. Tyler Rogers also did not look his greatest as soon as he came in because he threw a meatball of a fastball right down the middle to Riley Adams. That is one of the biggest Mets killers as of late there that you wouldn't think, but it's true. So Riley Adams increases and gives him that initial lead. Brooks really does his job, and Ryan Stanek proves yet again for what feels like the 10th time over the past calendar month why this man should no longer be in this bullpen. It's time for Ryan Stanek to be DFA'd. It's time to take him and his wife and their sourdough bread or whatever they're making elsewhere and needs to get out of this team. And I know you're saying to yourself, why stop there with Ryan Stanek? It feels like the Mets need to DFA this whole club. And I only half-jokingly say that, obviously, because I understand the frustration level as we're going to break down the latest game that was for this Mets team with no life to show yet again there in DC. It is inexcusable to see a Mets offense, again, with no Mackenzie Gore beyond 4.1 innings. This is the kind of product we get? Are you kidding me? Jeff McNeil does not start this ballgame today when he was 8 for 12 in his career against Mackenzie Gore. Now, I freaked out about that initially. Then we find out pregame that McNeil is dealing with shoulder soreness, and has been apparently. So bad so that he could not start the game. McNeil came in later on the ballgame and then got some reps in left field as Nimmo is still dealing with the neck stiffness. He's day-to-day, but more Mets get banged up left and right, and they continue to play a lack of fundamentally sound baseball. This team should not only have you frustrated as a fan, but you should be genuinely concerned for their odds to do anything of significance this season. As I was just in a watch party with my guy Dravnik Mark on the Playback app that you guys can check out, that we do playback streams all the time for. Mark and I were live reacting and breaking down in real time everything going around in Mets land. And it's so sad that we can see it from a mile away. It's not just one sole problem. It's a collective group problem. The offense rolls over and dies as soon as they give up the early lead. Their pitching as well gives you no length whatsoever. And then you add in a bullpen of Ryan Stanek. It was just a 2-run effing ball game or so as Stanek came in this ball game, yet he makes it how many runs of a differential? 6 runs of a differential. Ryan Stanek helped the Mets in no way whatsoever as he found himself there in the 8th inning today, and that continued to be the Mets' demise in this one. Mickey says, hey, Wardy, what a concept. Game 1 start goes deep, and we win. Game 2, 3, we barely get a starter, and we lose. Safe to say we are in need of competent starter. We are, because here's the thing, everybody. The Mets have not played good, competent baseball since May of this season, and you want to know what is the commonality with the Mets playing good baseball back in May? It was having their pitching exceed expectation. It was having their rotation carry the weight while the offense was doing its thing. The offense wasn't perfect. It wasn't overly sexy, but they did what they need to do. Now, folks, what have we seen since then? Since Kodai Senga went down with injury, since Tyler McGill went down with injury, since Griffin Canning ruptured his Achilles, and everything else in Metsland happened, this team has not been the same. And the most frustrating part is, I have no clue if they're ever going to get the same. Because you say to yourself, okay, listen, you got Noah McClain, Cowboy Ohtani towing the rubber tomorrow. That's awesome. I love that. But that only means so much. Even if McClain goes out and dominates again tomorrow, he's one of the only reliable options that we have in the rotation right now. You know how bad it is for a first-time call-up, a one starter of a rookie, and Noah McClain, who just has one start on his belt, and we have more confidence and trust in him to handle this rotation should the Mets make playoffs than any other starter outside of David Pearson. That is not a recipe for success. This is a massive problem, and I don't even know how much of a needle mover a Brandon Sproat, or obviously to a higher degree a Jonathan, is going to be for this team before it's too little too late. You have just over a month left to play. How much more time do you have to lose? You don't have any. There's no margin for error for this Mets team, and the reason why there's no margin for error is because they wasted away their entire summer. They spent all summer playing sorry-ass baseball. Pardon my French, everybody, but it's true. They played sorry you-know-what baseball all summer long. No one should be surprised by this reality. It's frustrating, but we've seen it from a mile away. Nothing about this team should surprise you and how they falter today. The only thing that should surprise you is the fact that the Mets don't have a worse record than what they currently do. But mind you, going back to June 13th of this season, the Mets have had one of the worst records in all Major League Baseball. So no, this is not something that just started this past series. No, this is not something that just started a week ago. This is going on 2.5 effing months of incompetent baseball by this Mets team. God, I'm pissed off. And as I was just doing the playback stream of Mark, people were wondering, Wardy, why aren't you ranting yet? I'm like, it's because I'm editing and getting set up for my live show. I'm locked in. As soon as they get this puppy set, I have to let it loose because this is my vent session. The way that's a vent session and many of thousands of Mets fans watching this live on a replay is the same way that is for me to break down, and it's kind of therapeutic for me to let off this steam because in order for me to let off this steam, it means I don't have to have it bottled up anymore. And I know that you guys have a lot bottled up in your frustration with this team, which is exactly why I do not want you to hold anything back. Tell me exactly how you feel to everyone watching live on a replay. Hit that like and subscribe button on your win as we're going to break down what was a absolutely horrendous ball game for this Mets team. We're not going to go completely inning by inning. I'm going to summarize it for you in this one, everybody. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and most certainly the ugly. The ugly is headlined by Shamanai not giving us even 5 effing innings today. An offense rolling over and dying there with a bad bullpen, mind you, the Washington Nationals. And then to make matters even worse, everybody, Ryan Stanek proved yet again why he has no place in this Mets bullpen. Thank you so much for the donation packages with $5. Thank God I had to work. Was going to make that DC trip thus more. I'm so glad you did not do that. Mike with the $5. Even if the Mets make the postseason, what chances do they have to take 2 out of 3 in LA, really? The sample size is big enough. This is who they are. This is who they are. And this is something that we can all agree on, everybody. Because what do I say? For those that don't know my post-game content, hi, how you doing? My name is Tyler Ward, better known as WardyNYM, here to the thousands of you guys watching live on a replay. I cover the Mets every single day. Win, lose, or draw on the platform. I cover all the breaking news, rumors, prospects, you name it, everything regarding the club. I cover them for the New York Post and their sports segment as well on their YouTube channel and socials. I cover the Mets daily in a recap format there in the Bleacher Report app, and I'm the MLB host. And even after doing all these things, everybody, it doesn't get any easier. And most certainly doesn't get any easier to break down the bad baseball that continues to plague and overshadow this Mets team throughout the course of the 162. This is now, we have reached a point, everybody, and you know very well if you follow the platform, if you've watched previous post-game shows, and you know to a T that I always say, especially in the first half of the season, I have the short-term vision and the long-term point of view. It's okay to have a short-term reaction to be pissed off as a fan while understanding that's a marathon and not a sprint of a 162 season. We can be all mad and upset about the Mets losing 3, 4, 5, 6 straight games, but depending on the context of where you are in the season, it doesn't necessarily impact them as much as you necessarily think, at least in that point in time. Well, folks, we have now reached a point where everything is rearing its head. There is no margin for error, as I just emphasized. There's just over a month left this season of baseball to be had, and the Mets are now on the cusp of losing a playoff spot for the first time in months on end this season because of their incompetence. Not because, oh, we're without all these guys with injury. No, a lot of the guys are here. They're just not getting the job done. The offense, where's the big boys? Where's Juan Soto today? Where's Francisco Lindor after that solo shot? Love you, Lindor. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Where's the polar bear today? Where are the guys you need to step up? Then you look at the remainder of this Mets lineup. Again, we have been very happy with it in stretches. Mark Vientos and Brett Beatty get early base knocks, and then Beatty has some of his worst at-bats of the season. Swinging right through middle fastball. Swinging right through a breaking ball down and in, sorting his ass up. Just as bad as Shamanai getting a sword earlier on James Wood while he hit the guy, mind you. So yes, we're going to be frustrated even when the guys who are finally starting to find this turn and getting consistency going with their offense, we're not able to be the heroes because we had to rely on someone to be the hero today outside of Francisco Lindor, and the reality is that no one was really going to step up to be able to do that. Starling Marte did that at DH short, star-studded Starling, love that, but that's only going to carry you so far because this Mets team cannot live and die with the solo home runs that they continue to do. Very Yankees-esque, which pisses me the hell off, of solo bombs galore with nothing else to show for this Mets offense. Give me 1 second, everybody, as I'm trying to get my camera to focus here. Sometimes it loves to go out of focus on me because I'm ranting my head off. So give me 1 second. All right. I'm so mad. It's every night with this team. It's the same story. Every night's the same story. Every single time the Mets lose, it's in this kind of fashion. We know exactly how they lose every single night. And it would have been great if the Mets had played competent baseball, solid baseball the past couple months. And yes, it would have been frustrating to lose this series, but you could at least say to yourself, okay, the Mets have been playing really good baseball for the most part the past month. That is going to give us the pass for having a bad down series. This is a one-off. Well, I'm sorry, guys. When the Mets continue to not perform against teams below 500, Mets have not been good at all in that regard this season. Nor have the Mets been good on the road this year for the most part either. They've been at best a 500 team or so. Don't quote me on it, because actually, you can quote me on it. I'll just double check and look at it right now along with you guys. But the point I'm trying to make here is that for a Mets team with the expectation that they had heading into the season, with all the woes that they had, with all the injuries that they had, with all the issues that they had that we called out since day one, what has been done about it? Not nearly enough. Not nearly enough. And now here we are in basically Doomsland, where it is too little too late. Again, even if you give the call to Brandon Sproat to make his debut this weekend or on Monday against the Phillies, who knows what's going to happen? Jonathan, I would love to see Jonah, but are you going to call him up before the season ends? And can he be enough of a needle mover for you that you have to rely on in playoffs? No one in their right mind wants to rationally rely on uncertain top prospect rookies down the stretch to be your end-all be-all. Yet that is how inexcusable the configuration of this Mets rotation is. Every single Mets starter not named David Pearson should be considered in piggyback situations with another arm like a McLean, like a Sproat, even though McLean should just stay as a starter now. Other guys from the minor leagues to piggyback with, or a Frankie Montas to piggyback with, because they cannot give you length whatsoever. It's disgusting. It's been the same exact woes that have plagued this team for so long now. And guys, thank you so much, Broken Jester, with the $2 house. So many problems. Stanek must go. Season slipping fast. It is slipping fast. And I agree that Ryan Stanek has to get his ass out here. As much as I love Ryan Stanek and what he can do playoff performance-wise, guys, we're currently at the point where we're not going to make playoffs at this rate. So it doesn't matter if we try to handle on Ryan Stanek and his 5+ ERA if you don't even make it to the point of where you can actually utilize him and be effective. It's useless. So yes, Ryan Stanek, a lot overdue. Got to DFA him. It is time. If there was ever a time, it is now. Especially when they let Stanek stay in that inning. He pitched over 30 pitches in the 8th inning. Batting practice looked like dog water. It's time to make a change on that front. You know what I'm thinking about when Ryan Stanek is balling out? I'm thinking about Rico Garcia getting quality outs for the Baltimore Orioles the other day. I'm thinking about guys that the Mets gave up on earlier this year too early, too often, that could still be benefiting this bullpen. Now, I get it. Some of them are a bit more of an anomaly in their production among other things, but still, we have them. They were utilized well. They were performing well. We cut bait with them, and now they're thriving elsewhere. It's almost like we didn't need to cut bait with these guys as soon as we did. You've seen the wrong things. Mendoza got to go in and bring the pitchers up. The Mets' only chance. What am I saying that's wrong here? I'm saying everything that we know. Yes, they can go ahead and call up the Brandon Sproats. They can go ahead and call up the Jonathans. But we're at a point in the season, how much of a needle mover is that actually going to be? This is the greater picture. You know how I tell you guys to focus on the short and the long-term reaction? Well, we reached the point now where the short and long-term reaction are coinciding with one another because there's little to no time left this season. This is the problem. There is no room, there is no margin for error, yet the Mets on a nightly basis or daily basis are going out and giving you all the exact reasons as to how they're going to go ahead and have their errors again. And speaking of the Mets, everybody, guys, on the road this year, they're horrendous. The Mets are 26-36 on the road this year. Oh my God, that's bad. It's so bad. And on top of that, record against teams below 500, they're 25-27. They're 2 games below 500, 25-27 against below 500 clubs, if I'm not mistaken. And they're 26-36 this season on the road. Good teams, playoff teams, championship caliber teams are never in those statistics. What I've been calling out going back all season long, runner and scoring position woes. Thankfully, the Mets have rectified that to a degree over the past week, and that's been nice. But a week does not take away from a season's worth sample size of dog you know what. It's been horrendous. Then you add in the rotation that we've been beating the drum plenty of. We had our complaints with it to a degree heading in the season. We knew it exceeded expectations, and we knew that we were going to give a bit of a leash before things could get right. Well, the problem is David Stearns gave such a leash for no names, nobodies, and spot starts, and then Brandon Waddell's of the world, especially among others, that it came back to bite them in the ass in more ways than one, and you don't realize just how bad it is until the Mets are now in the position that they're in. They're at a point now where they are closer to not making the playoffs than they are are getting anywhere close to actually winning the division this year. Oh yeah, did I forget to mention that the Mets play the Phillies 2 more series this year? We have the Phillies starting on Monday that I'll be in attendance. Can you tell how excited I am? As well as what we have there the second week or the first week or so into September. So things are bad now. They can get worse. In order for the Mets to get out of this, they have to dig deep. If they do not dig deep, we have ourselves a massive problem. And the problem is that they haven't dug deep all year long. There is no fight. There is no moxie. There is no drive. The fact that the Mets don't have a single effing rally this year heading into the 9th inning down a run or more is disgusting. Actually disgusting. They have no identity whatsoever. It's the same thing that I've been calling out for literally the past month and a half on end, everybody, yet we have to talk about it again. Mikey with the $2 holla. The Phils have the tools that the Mets never had. This is not inaccurate. We were 1,000% right in the sense that the Phils have a stable rotation, a rotation with multiple starters to give them length. They have a quality bullpen now headlined by Yoan Duran, who's been doing great things for them. And they have an offense that's perfectly fine to balance out with their pitching. I don't overly fear the Phillies, but they're on an absolute heater right now, and they're going to be on a heater facing this Mets team while the Mets are playing sorry baseball. If you're the Philadelphia Phillies, what are you saying to yourself heading into that series next week? You're saying to yourself, time to put the final nails in the coffin. Why wouldn't you feel that way if you're a Phillies fan, let alone the players? The first mentality you would have is, we have to make up for our runs in the NLDS last year. We have to go and put them in their place and show exactly how much better of a team we are, which is exactly why I fully expect the Phillies to have some of their best baseball this upcoming week against this Mets team, because you're silly if you think otherwise. They're going to go bananas. This is prime time. This is easy pickings for a team like the Phillies to go out and want to torch this Mets team, and you can't blame them, and I won't be surprised by it. The same way that we dish it when we love to talk smack when we beat up on the Phillies is the same way that we have to take it when the Mets are playing as incompetent as they are. There is nothing to instill confidence that this team is going to go ahead and be a better team than the Phillies this year, nor is there at all a level of confidence that this team is even going to make the playoffs. Tell me where the confidence is. If you can go ahead and find it, please let me know. We can have that discussion. Because as much as I love Noah McClain, who I hope balls out tomorrow, that is not enough. Brandon Sproat, Jonathan, how far do these guys carry you? I just don't know. And the fact that I don't know is concerning. I know the Mets don't know at all either, but the difference between them and me is that I was advocating to at least consider them over the past month and a half to see what you have before it's too late. Instead, what are we waiting for? Until it's too little too late to see what we have. Color me shocked. Jonah with the $5. The Mets just don't click simultaneously, and this isn't one thing, it's another. Solid outing, lack of run support, offensive onslaught, bullpen blows it. 1,000%, Jonah. Thank you so much for that donation. I appreciate that. Oscar with the $5. Wardy, huge fan of you. Every year is the same with the Mets. Do good in the beginning and collapse at the end. Thank God I haven't seen the Mets this year at City. I'm glad you saved the dollars for your sake. I've attended plenty of games. I'll be attending one on Monday. I'm expecting a loss. Not that I wish it, but I'm expecting it. How can you not expect a loss with the way that this team has been playing right now? Seriously. Pat with the $2 holla. Everybody knows pitching wins except Stearns. Oh my God. The most frustrating thing about this as well is that David Stearns knows pitching very well. He knew it damn well during his time with the Brewers. The problem is that once Stearns swung on and tried to hit for a home run this year, i.e. Frankie Montas as his early offseason pick, and Griffin Canning. Not that Canning was bad, but unfortunately the injury derailed everything there. Among others, we're watching real time the early true pickups in the rotation coming back to bite David Stearns and the Mets team in the ass. We've known it. Clay Holmes falls in that category too. Clay is not much of a liability when it comes to what you're getting from him, as he's a liability with a lack of length. And I would care a lot less about Clay Holmes, who's still having a rock solid season, all things considered, finally being transitioned to a starter for the first time since 2018. I would care a lot less about that if the rest of the rotation wasn't horrendous with their length as well. But everybody is. Even David Pearson, separate from his dominant start just a couple days ago, had a horrendous outing the previous time out there, and they even go 5 innings. And Peterson can't even give you length. You have nothing. You have zero. Nada. So tell me why we should be confident, let alone excited, on if the Mets go ahead and make playoffs. Again, the beauty about baseball, it's a 162. You still have over a month left of games to be had. The Mets go on a heater starting tomorrow, win 4 or 5 straight games. I'm going to be like a kid in the candy shop. I'm going to be so happy that they're finally starting to turn things around. But until that happens, which I'll be very surprised if it does, considering it took the Mets an effing month, just about a month, to win 3 consecutive games. The Mets were just on a 3-game heater as they took the final 2 games of the Seattle Mariners series, and then they took the first game against the Nats in D.C. That was the first time the Mets won 3 consecutive games since they swept the effing San Francisco Giants in July. That is how long it's been. So when I tell you that this is not just a problem that started last night, but a problem that's been played for a while, that's an understatement. Team with the $5 team chemistry is bad like 1992 Mets all over again. Soto might be the next Bobby Bonilla with the contract. Not true. Soto's going to perform every single year. However, Soto performing every single year is only going to mean so much if the Mets can't even make the effing dance, let alone playoffs. We got a lot to break down here. We got a lot to say, everybody. Hit that like and subscribe on your way. And like I said, do not hesitate from telling me exactly how you feel. We're going to go ahead and break down this ball game in a second. I apologize. I realize I've been ranting for basically a half hour already without even really getting into the context of the ball game. But I feel like I already have summarized the context of the ball game for you. There isn't a whole lot more that I need to do, but I will do that for each and every one of you here in a second. But I do want to shout out our amazing sponsors that make every show here on the platform happen, as always. That being at SeatGeek. They have you covered for all of your ticketing needs. As I say, after the Mets lose a game like this, do not waste your hard-earned dollars watching this Mets team, okay? If you can utilize SeatGeek for NFL tickets, concert show tickets, comedy show tickets, something along those lines, make sure to check them out, everybody. Utilize our promo code WARDY10. That way you too get 10% off your next ticket purchase. Thank you guys so much for that. I really do appreciate it. And shout out to our great friends at Moomoo, the official trading platform of the New York Mets. Make sure to sign up with them today, everybody, as we're going to be doing a promo here shortly to get into how you guys can get a chance to hang out with your guy Wardy at the Mets game here on this Monday, August 25th. He's a deer in headlights. Vinny, who are we talking about? Mendoza? Okay. I get what you're saying. Here's the thing, though, guys, and this is another thing that you're not going to love to hear. Mendy is more of a puppet than he is anything else, just like any other manager in today's game. Mendy, every single game, more than likely, not only gets the lineup that he configures, but also the lineup that's configured with the front office, and he blends it himself. Now, while I did not like the lineup today on paper, I will give the benefit of the doubt. McNeil, unfortunately, has shoulder soreness, which is why him was the best numbers out of any Mets batter against Mackenzie Gore, of course. And McNeil doesn't come in the ball game until after Gore exits the ball game today. Very frustrating. You have to remember, though, that this is not just about what you're seeing right now in Carlos Mendoza. This is such a greater problem than just Mendy, okay? So to suggest that, oh, let's go ahead and fire Mendy, that's going to change things, it's not. It's not going to work the way you think it's going to. This is a front office down philosophy. This comes down to the players, okay? As much as I want Eric Chavez and Jeremy Barnes' asses out here just as much as the next guy, and that still holds true this very point of us talking right now, I can say in the same breath that this comes down to the players. When you invest the millions of dollars that Steve Cohen has into this team, at some point, push comes to shove and they need to be better. Where's the excuse for Pete Alonso being a no-show today? Where's the excuse for Juan Soto being a no-show today? Where's the excuse for everybody and their mother not getting the job done unless your name was Francisco Lindor and Starling Marte today against the sorry Washington Nationals? This comes down to the players. And while I went great lengths this season to rag on Mendy at times, to rag on the hitting coaches, and I will most certainly do that yet again, to rag on everybody, let's not forget that the key context behind this is that they are the scapegoat for what is the lack of player performance. This comes down to them. They are who they are. This is a bad team. I agree with you, David. I agree. It frustrates me because I won a good chunk this season not under that belief, not thinking that this Mets team was bad, but they are bad. They're not fundamentally sound at all. They have zero structure. They have zero identity. And that lack of identity is exactly why I will be jaw-dropped if they get anywhere this year. Most Mets fans at this point are looking forward to a degree to the season ending than they are continuing right now. You know how disheartening that is to say for the first year under Juan Soto and your first year, mind you, getting 2 games shy of the World Series a year ago? You realize how frustrating that is? I know you do because you're a diehard Mets fan like me going through hell and back right here, right now. And it is Juan Soto's job to kind of keep the offensive flow to a degree. I don't disagree with you, but he's only one player still. He can only do so much. So even while we get frustrated with Soto at times, individually, he's far from the problem. It comes down to a lot of other players, and we can nitpick Soto's runner and scoring position numbers all we want. We can nitpick aspects of him, and maybe that he doesn't really give off too much of that team vibe mentality. But how much is it really on him as it is this entire group? It's the entire group. This is what my recommended, but go off. Appreciate you being in here, my guy, even though you're a Nats fan. Again, Nats fans have nothing to flex other than that you just handled the Mets without a problem, 2 out of 3. The problem, though, is that you don't need to be the Washington Nationals to beat up on the Mets right now. This is how bad they're playing. And this is not a slight on the Nats, as this is a fact. The Mets have one of the worst records in baseball going back to mid-June of this season. You could have put out the Savannah effing Bananas and then backflipping there while making catches in the outfield and having a guy on stilts throw a 50-mile-per-hour meatball to you, and the Mets still wouldn't be able to hit it for shit because that's how incompetent of a baseball team they are right now. Mike with a $5 holla. Mendy is under crazy pressure to make the right decision, whether it's his fans or the front office, and it's visible with so many. Oh, of course it is. He has so much pressure. He's in a big market, a market of New York, a market that expects you to win every single night. That is not an easy thing to handle. Those are all things that you have to bear in mind when you evaluate Carlos Mendoza. I know Mendy's far from perfect, but I will go to bat for him knowing that he is nothing more than a scapegoat right now to the greater issues that they have. How much of a problem has Mendy had with the lack of voice in the clubhouse? I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and assume. All I will say is what we have seen results-wise has us at least thinking that there's a lot of uncertainty there. What is the difference in the vibes from last year this year? There was identity last year. There was a team that went from being down 11 games below 500 that did not have expectation and went above and beyond expectation because everyone doubted them. JD Martinez said it point blank, everyone's doubting us. Everyone thinks we suck. Let's go out and prove them wrong. And the Mets slowly but surely chipped away day by day, night by night, and build that hard-nosed effing mentality. Between Mr. OMG helping the boys rally late in the ball games, between Grimace being the stupid little rally for the Mets to go around, there were things clicking for them. And they had a never-say-die mentality. And you know who stepped up so much throughout the course of the summer last year when the Mets need him to? Francisco Lindor. And the problem now is that while Lindor's having another very good season, Lindor also is a one-man. He's one man. He can only do so much for you. So when Lindor can't carry you maybe to the extent that he did last year, you're further seeing this team get exposed as bad as they currently are. Let's see. Casey with a $2 holla. Stearns have given Mendy a razor-thin margin to win. A razor-thin margin to win. That cannot be emphasized enough. It's not Mendy's fault that he has everybody and their mother, not named David Pearson, not knowing what length in the rotation is. Worry, there's no indication the Mets are going on any sort of run. It's been a while. 100%. There is zero indication. The only way the Mets get on a run is that they go out and prove it and prove us wrong. Because right now, we are all under the belief that this team is not going to go anywhere this year. And this is why I told you guys over the past week, this season is unofficially over. Unofficial because it's never officially over until they're out. They still make playoffs. They still may have great things happen this year. But my God, what we have seen for the majority of the season now has been dog water that you call New York Mets baseball. To summarize, let's quickly rapid fire this ball game. We're going to do it together, everybody. Very quick summary. You ready? Let's do it. Ready, kids? Ready, class? Strap in and get ready for the ride. Okay, Francisco Lindor, leadoff bomb, 25th home run of the year. Yip to you. Love it, love it. Mets strike out in order then against Mackenzie Gore. Soto, Marte, Alonso down. And the first, we see a 1-2-3 there for Sean Manaea. And the second, we see the Mets get nothing outside of a Vientos single and a Cedric Mullins walk. They allow 2 on, 2 out, and can't get a runner to score. Bottom is second, another 1-2-3 Manaea. This time he strikes out the side. Little did we know that Sean Manaea would yet again go on and do exactly this. Worry, don't forget about my $5 haul. Excuse the word line. That was a mistake. No worries. Let me see here. Let me go up the $5 haul. Bring back Bobby Valentine. Thank you for the donation. Appreciate that. Bobby V in the house. We appreciate that. Let me go up here. As crazy sounds, I lost hope the moment Alvy went down. Probably lying for the rest of the season. Just bad. Oh, 100%. 100%. Alvarez was our spark plug. Alvarez, for a month, was batting 300 with over 1,000 OPS. Losing that is another wrinkle to what is so wrong with this Mets season. No doubt about it. I 100% agree with you there wholeheartedly. Let's see here. And going back to what was the donation earlier, my guy? What did you say earlier in regards to I'm confused on what you said in that last remark. Let's see. Mad Team Parents, can you do me a favor and just tell me what your donation was again and let me know if I said it or not? I want to make sure that I didn't skip past it by accident. I'm trying to answer these as much as I can right now, so thank you guys for your patience. I appreciate that. But as we see in the third inning, guys, Lindor gets on with a single, yet somehow, some way, I don't know what Lindor's thinking here, but he gets caught point blank between first and second. Bad read, bad run, and Lindor's out. That snaps the Mets' streak of, I believe, having 39 consecutive batters there not being caught trying to steal a bag or so. Afterwards, we see star-studded Starling Marte, what should have been a 2-run home run if Lindor just was competent and stayed on the base pass. Instead, we see Marte blast his 7th home run of the season for number 6, and that makes it a 2-0 Mets lead. In the bottom of the third, everybody, we see a scroll setting yet again for Sean Manaea. He strikes out the final 2 batters he sees, and Jacob Young and swords there in James Wood on a pitch that hit him, mind you. That is how bad of a sword it was by Wood. So brilliant work early by Manaea. Then in the fourth, guys, we see Hayden Senger out of all people. Hayden Senger gets the sac fly, and that makes it 3-0 Mets there. Then we advance to the bottom of the fourth, and we see the offense start here for the Washington Nationals. Mind you, the fourth inning, the Mets have how bad of an ERA in the fourth inning this year? Oh yeah, it's really bad. It is so bad, as a matter of fact, that currently the Mets have a 7.14 ERA in the fourth inning in the last 61 games. That is the second highest in baseball, only trailing the Miami Marlins, who have a 7.65 ERA in said inning. I don't know what it is about the fourth inning, but clearly, especially when you're seeing it's the second turn in the order, they have been horrendous. Yes, I did. It was about Alvy going down. Gotcha. Understood, my guy. Thank you so much. As we continue on, guys, Dylan Cruz with a ground out after Riley Adams hit by pitch and Andres Shapiro single, and that makes it a 2-run ball game there for the Washington Nationals. And mind you, what was frustrating about this inning, everybody, is that Pete Alonso was supposed to get the first force out at home, yet instead Alonso tries to make a throw to second base. He's safe. It continues the inning, and that will come back to bite the Mets in this one. As we continue on from here, everybody, in the fifth inning, what do we see? Starling Marte with a 1-out walk. Alonso with a 1-out walk. Then we see Mackenzie Gore lead the ball game, and Vientos and Beatty go down in order. In the bottom of the fifth, everybody, more bad for Sean Manaea, because what do we see right away? We see Sean Manaea hit C.J. Abrams, and that still has a 3-1. Paul DeYoung then makes it a 1-run ball game with a sac fly, and then we see Shapiro with a walk, and here comes Sean Manaea. He's out of the ball game, and here is now entering Tyler Rogers. Tyler Rogers comes in because Sean Manaea yet again cannot get out of his own mess before the fifth inning even reaches a conclusion. First pitch Tyler Rogers throws to Riley Adams. Fastball down the dick. What do you think is going to happen? What's going to happen is that the Nationals are going to take a 4-3 lead. That is what's going to happen. And after they take the lead, they never look back, everybody. It gets from bad to worse. We see in the sixth, Mets roll over and die. Bottom of sixth there. It's now a 5-3 ball game there that we would see for the Nationals. After, we would see Lyle get on with a 1-out single. He would steal second base, his 6th bag of the year there. Then Jacob Young, who had a gorgeous play in center against Juan Soto in this Mets team earlier on. Jacob Young, one of the many thorns on the Mets side for this Nationals team. He makes it 5-3. Then we find ourselves in the 7th inning. What do the Mets do? Yes, you guessed it, a whole lot of nothing. In the bottom of the 7th, what do the Nationals do? A whole lot of nothing as well. Brooks Raley is an absolute dog. In the 8th inning, we see the Mets do nothing yet again outside of a Mark Vientos walk. In the bottom of the 8th inning, we see Jeff McNeil come in and stay in left field. Here comes Ryan Stanek, and here comes batting practice. Ryan Stanek, listen to this shit show that was Ryan today. Single, walk, single, makes it 6-3. Then it's a strikeout. A homer by James Wood makes it 9-3. And then another walk to C.J. Abrams just for good measure to make sure that I'm really that bad today, says Ryan Stanek. Then Paul DeYoung, the man who torches the Mets, who has over 300 average and over 1,000 career OPS against the Mets in his career, which is insane to fathom. And Paul DeYoung, he grounds out softly to end the inning. And the 9th, what happens, everybody? Francisco Lindor with a 2-out single, and Juan Soto strikes out Sweeney to do it for the ball game. Folks, the Mets lose in not only a horrendous fashion, but they continue to prove why you should not buy in on the stock of them doing anything beyond the regular season this year. If they do, we will have to see to believe it. The same way that I get excited about the Mets after victories is furthermore how frustrated I get after losses, because the losses have been far more apparent than the victories have going back to the beginning of June. That is a statistical fact. The Mets have not been a 500 effing ball club since the start of June. It feels like that, at least. You know how bad that is? You know how bad this team is right now? Do you guys understand how bad they look? I feel like you do if you're watching the show right now or watching on replay, but you have to know. What I saw today was painful. It was very painful. All they had to do was win this series. I didn't even need a sweep. As much as I want a sweep, all we needed was competence, and we could not get that from this Mets team. Ants, great member, 28 months. This team is going to kill me. Yeah, I'm right there along with you, brother. If there's one solace to that comment, you're not alone. You're just one of many. We'll just buy the biggest coffin imaginable. We'll all line up in it together. Step right up and meet the effing Mets. They're going to kill you, take years off your life. Today's one of those days. No doubt about it. Hold on, guys. I got to blow my nose again. Give me 1 second. Sounded like effing Squidward out here. I'm convinced that the Mets are giving me a cold. They're making me sick because of how bad they are. I'm convinced. I've been saying to myself, I've been having this lingering kind of cold sinus thing going on for a month now, right? What's going on here? It ain't allergies. It ain't an illness out there. No, it's my diehard fandom that I live and die with being a Mets fan. That's what it is. It all makes sense now. This is why I am the way that I am. This is why I feel the way that I do. And it's no wonder that I haven't felt great physically since May of this year. When was the last time the Mets were a good baseball team this year? Yeah, you guessed it, the month of May. Color me shocked. Dan Nugent, great member. Mania is just a longer reliever at this point, and Stanek is garbage. Unfortunately, you're not wrong. Between Mania's loose body and his elbow, that clearly is still an issue for him, as well as no one providing length. This is disgusting. Actually disgusting. And I get it, today's game has adapted. I understand this game has changed. I completely understand that. But seriously, I miss with every dying second, I miss more and more competence of a rotation. You know what I would do to have a starter outside of David Pearson go 7 innings? I would do some heinous things. I would do some things I can't see on air right now because that's how desperate I am. Cue Dave Chappelle when he's acting like a crack you-know-what, when he's scratching his neck and stuff, you know? I'm so desperate for something good there that I will go leaps and bounds beyond any fan could possibly fathom just to do something to make it happen. Yet it's out of my hands, it's out of your hands. It's up to the Mets and their pitchers' hands, but their pitchers are not getting the job done. Oscar with the $2 holla. No faith in the Mets unless we bring up Sproatins on. And that will be inevitably what happens, everybody. As I broke down in my video earlier today, a Brennan Sproat call is absolutely coming. Whether it's this weekend or for Monday, it's more than likely going to happen with how he's currently slotted to pitch. And as that can be true, the same can be said that if Jonathan dominates his next Syracuse Mets outing, there is zero excuse to keep that man in the minor leagues. Miss me with the nonsense. Oh, I don't want to hurt the guy's confidence. Oh, I don't want to do this to his young development. Shut up! He's the best pitching prospect in baseball. He's struck out more batters than anyone else in the minor leagues. I don't give a rat's ass, David Stearns, right now. If you're under the belief that, it's going to be a premature call if we do it right now. It's out of team desperation. Well, buddy, newsflash, we're desperate. You want us to do anything this season? You want to give us a sliver of hope in life? This is how you do it. It's by considering the in-house options that you currently have after you sat on your hands and did nothing at the deadline. I know, we have all the excuses to say, but Wardy, Merrill Kelly was the only starter trade at the deadline. I know Merrill Kelly wanted nothing to do with New York. I understand that. I also understand that David Stearns had ample time a month prior to the deadline, so at minimum, bring in some type of reinforcements externally, and yet he chose not to. And when I say externally, I'm not even saying the Sandy Alcantara's and his 7-year array. I'm not saying any of that nonsense. I'm just talking about guys who could have bridged your gap better than your nonsensical Justin Hagemans, Brandon Waddell's, and Blade Tidwells. You had opportunity, and you sat on your hands until you wait until it's too little too late. We call this out since the start. We call this out for 2 effing months on end. Yet here we are now. Why is no one surprised? I've been following along because you guys have listened to what I've said and you felt the same exact way. We have seen the writing on the wall. And until they do anything about it, we're going to expect more of the same results. And that is what we find ourselves in right now. Pat, thank you for the $5 holla. I asked Stearns, why would you make a bathroom attendant a captain of a ship? That's funny. Thank you for the donation. Good wordplay there, Pat. I appreciate that. Albert with the $5 holla. Thank you so much for that, Albert. I appreciate that a lot, my friend. Thank you guys all, everyone watching live to replay. Do not hold back, like I said. Tell me exactly how you feel right now. This is unhinged Wardy. This is, again, I threw some numbers at you. I summarized the game for you. But I'm not going to go on this tangent over the next hour to break down statistically how, oh yeah, by the way, guys, the Mets' expected advance numbers and their offense are actually top 10 in baseball. Actually, if you just give them a little bit more time, they're going to break out and figure it out. F you and F your time. We've given you time. I'm done with that nonsense. We've been there. We've done that. It's been months on end. I don't give a shit if the Mets are top 5 in every offensive advanced statistic throughout the course of the season. It means dog shit if you can't even win a series because of your lack of offense in part against the sorry Washington Nationals. I do not give a rat's ass when you go ahead and lose 14 of 16 games in which you had the lead in almost all those games. I don't care when in the first half of the season you lose 15 of 18 18 games, yet we're supposed to think it's okay because it's the first half of the year. It's not okay. I'm sick to my stomach too, Nick. My stomach is churning right now. I get so worked up with this team. It literally curdles like we have some effing cheese curds going on right now in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Oh, my God. Just say we suck. Nick, I have. That's the worst part I have. We have reached that point. We do suck. We absolutely suck. This team sucks more than they are good. They have all the talent in the world on their team. All the talent in the world. They have... All right, guys, let me break this down for you simple. Let's do this together, class, okay? You see this? You see this terrible box I just drew? This box is going to represent a puzzle. And in a puzzle, you have pieces. And those pieces are usually 50 to 100, maybe 150. All the pieces is what the Mets have. Yet every single time that they try to put that damn puzzle together, they're missing 5 pieces. Oh my God, we're missing 10 pieces. Oh my God, the dog just ate half the puzzle. What am I trying to make here as a point, everybody? They have all the pieces, yet they cannot put it together. They have no clue how to. Even if the writing is on the wall, if it's smacking them across the face to say, hey, this is what you're supposed to do, they're not doing it. When they say turn right, they're turning left. When your parent tells you as a child, do not hit the big red button, they're hitting the big red button. They're doing everything wrong. So again, I can sit here. I can be kosher. I can give you guys not a rant. I could go ahead and say the following. Let's not overstress. There's still over a month left of baseball. Let me be the logical Mets fan for you. Let me go ahead and be the one with the glass half full. Even in that manner, it's the same exact result. So it doesn't matter. It simply doesn't matter. I don't care what the numbers say. Wardy, get me out of here. Unfortunately, I can't get you out of Mets fandom. That was probably passed down through your loved ones, and you have them to blame. The same way that I have my father to blame, because that man grew up in Corona, Queens. Not my fault that my dad grew up in Corona and worked at the Lemon Ice King back in the day. If you know, you know. Yeah, that was him. He was as OG of like a true Queens Mets fan as they come, through and through. I'm a bigger Mets fan than he is now. Look at that. You want to know why? You want to know why I'm a bigger Mets fan than him now? Has a lot to do with him being numb and tapped out over incompetence over the years of being a Mets fan. That's now been passed down to me. Bestowed to me, same way it's bestowed to many of you guys watching this live in a replay. We didn't willingly choose this life. We didn't ask for this shit. The only people that asked to become a Mets fan are the fans that hopped on the Steve Cohen bandwagon. And I commend you. Because the upside of the Steve Cohen bandwagon is that I know things are going to be up and up. I do have confidence that the Mets are going to find winning ways consistently with Steve Cohen. But we're not there yet. We're still not there yet. That's a very frustrating thing when you're in year 5. You're under your 3rd manager already. You sign Juan Soto, the largest contract in North American sports history. Yeah, we're looking down the barrel of a 45. And at the end of that barrel, those are the Mets' playoff hopes. What felt like a certainty is that something that feels like it's now going to be shortly blasted away out of the effing stratosphere here. My frustration comes from my expectations. Exactly. And what is the one thing the Mets have done so brilliantly since Steve Cohen became owner? That was rolling over and dying every time they had expectations. Think I'm lying? Let me lie to you. Let's go through this together, everybody. I've said it before. I'll say it again. 2021. Expectation is to just make playoffs. The roster really wasn't that good. They had a lot of early injuries, and a lot of things went awry that year. I'm going to give benefit of the doubt. First year under Cohen, not a good roster. Under Zach Scott, acting GM after Jared Porter had to be a freaking freak after acquiring Lindor. Thank you for that, Porter, but F off with everything else. That's year 1 of Steve Cohen. Controversy ensues. Sandy Alderson was still in the organization, so to give you an idea as to how bad things were. Year 2, 2022 Mets, right? 2022 Mets, just got to make playoffs. Go ahead and make playoffs. Go ahead. Mets go ahead, and they're the most electric team in the first half that season. Not only did they get fans to buy in, but they had fans truly thinking that that year was special. And in part it was. The Mets were rallying. They were coming back. And they were winning games in ways that you simply couldn't fathom in previous years as a Mets fan. You didn't know how to handle it as a Mets fan because you were so foreign to the positivity that was bestowed upon us with them actually playing well. All of that reared its head after the trade deadline, after a month of dealing with Daniel Vogelbach, Darren Ruff, and Tyler Naquin, after not doing enough for your bullpen, and allowing the Atlanta Braves to crawl back and best you in the division and roll over in 9 playoffs. As soon as this team had expectation to not just be a playoff team, but to have a run, they rolled over and died. 2023, what's the expectation, class? It's to make playoffs. Justin Verlander's here. Max Scherzer's here. Injuries, Grizzly veterans, washed players leads to the demise of that club in 2023. You know it's bad when Tommy Pham was one of the most valuable offensive players for the Mets leading up to the trade deadline that year, and that is not an exaggeration. That's a fact. 2024, the expectation, just make playoffs. They go down 11 games below 500. What do? They best everybody because they had no expectation. It's very easy for the Mets to get on a run. You see the trend here? It's very easy for a big market team like the Mets to get on a run when everyone's counting them out, when everyone's doubting them, especially in the first half of the season. They went out, they proved everybody wrong, and they had as magical of a run as we could hope. The 2024 Mets will always be special, have a nice spot in my heart. They got 2 games shy of the World Series in a year that they were expected to make playoffs, and a year that everyone thought that the season was over when they were 11 games below 500. They went and they dug deep, and they found that identity together. Without just the fans, they did it themselves. 2025. You just signed Juan Soto, the largest contract in North American sports history. You just got 2 games shy of the NLCS. What do? You go ahead and you don't meet those expectations. Your pitching exceeds expectations in your first month and a half a year. Your offense is solid, but not great. They're not in unison yet. Lindor and Alonso are off to fairly hot starts for the most part. Soto's kind of sporadic with his production, but he's still there. Pitching is what carries you. Okay. Mets get off to a great first half. 21 games above 500. As soon as the expectation is now starting to hit, it becomes their downfall. They have no clue how to handle their adversity. David Stearns has no clue how to right the ship between the bullpen and the rotation. He has no clue. He may see he has a clue, but his philosophy was dog shit. It was not good, is what it was. And he has himself to blame there. Now, with a Mets team that was 21 games above 500 this year, is reeling just to make postseason play. Can the Mets F around and have a good run this year by being doubted again? Is this what they needed? Is this what the Mets need? Did the Mets need to get down in the dumps this bad to finally dig deep and build an identity? Only time will tell. But folks, that clock is ticking. There's just over a month left this season. And with each passing day, we find ourselves in greater stress and frustration as a fan. So, yes, in case you're wondering, is this just a this year issue? No. This is an expectation never meets reality issue. And this is one not only under the Steve Cohen Mets, this is one under the Wilponsian regime as well. Until they figure out an identity that lasts more than an effing season, you cannot expect this team to get anywhere where you want them to be. They're going to give you fool's gold, and they're going to give me fool's gold when they go ahead and win the next 3 to 4 games and then drop 4. It's this constant seesaw of just trying to figure out what is right with this team versus what's wrong. The problem is we know so much more of what's wrong versus what can actually be right. Oscar with $2 holla. Wardy, I'm from Corona, Queens, 2 Mets fans since 01. That's awesome, my guy. Love to hear that. JV with a donation. Why do we lose every single game that Alonso has a defensive brain fart? We don't come back. You're right. And he's at par for that. Alonso has been a liability for sure. When he can't make a routine play that he's supposed to make, they crumble on with him. Why? It's more so because the Mets have 0 margin for error. 0. They cannot handle this kind of adversity because they have no clue what to do. They look like in the 4th and 5th inning almost on a daily basis. Me experiencing a panic attack for the first time. You have no clue what to do. You're all over the place, and you're just trying to settle down, but nothing's working. I present to you the 2025 New York Mets. $5 holler from my guy Albie. I'm not even mad. Like, what for? They don't even deserve my anger. Straight apathy. I respect that a lot. I commend you for that. I can't relate. I'm too emotionally irrational. Daniel Caps, great memory, 16 months. June 13th, we have 14 losses scoring 4+ runs. Number 1 in MLB. I got to screenshot that shit because otherwise you wouldn't believe it. Unbelievable. Since June 13th, the Mets have 14 losses where they scored 4+ runs. 14 fucking losses where they scored 4+ runs. I get it. You need more than 4 runs on an average basis. But holy shit, is that bad. So as I've said before, and I'll say it again, everybody, to wrap up today's live show, when the Mets have played as bad baseball as they've had for as long as they've had this year, when the Mets have had zero identity when it comes to clutching up late in a ball game, what makes you think they're going to find it now? It's enough about us hoping and us just seeing if something can change. I'm done hoping. My hope with this team is officially done this year, in the sense that I'm perfectly numb and capable and prepared for whatever happens. I may still act emotionally erratic from it because it's going to piss me off in the moment, but I'm mentally prepared for this team to be done as soon as the regular season's over. I hope they prove me wrong. That's all I have to say. I hope they prove me wrong, but I'm not getting my hopes up, if that makes sense. Not getting my hopes up. But guys, that's going to do it. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go try to enjoy my evening, spend some time with my loved ones, my kiddo, and have myself a decent rest of my evening. Certainly going to be better than the shit show that I spent the first half of my day with, watching the sorry team and then talking about each and every one of you. I do not mind talking about it with you guys. It's very therapeutic for me. So I seriously thank you guys so much for that. It really does mean a lot. And I'm sorry that you guys get to see me at my worst as often as you have lately. I don't enjoy this. I know it helps with viewership when I rant my head off and stuff, but when I tell you that this is genuine, I truly do mean it. I don't like being this way. I don't enjoy being this way. I hate being this way. It frustrates me. It hurts my own health. I know that there are bad side effects to it. I know that that's things I'll have to worry about separately. But I just want you to know how much I genuinely care about this team. And I voice these things because I care. I am not the bootlicker that some of you guys make me out to be when I get excited about signings and trades. Newsflash, guys, of course I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to guys who first land here in Queens before things go awry. That's what you should do. You want to give benefit of the doubt to newcomers that land on your team, regardless of what they had done or hadn't done previously. So while I will always be an internal optimist with acquisitions, is the same way that I'm always going to call their ass out for what it is. Because, listen, I can go ahead, be Mr. White Collar right now, the way I'm doing a studio segment on Monday with the New York Post again. So when I go ahead and do that, I won't be ranting my head off, but depending on the topic and depending on what happens this weekend, I'm going to absolutely tell you guys exactly how I feel. And it'll be a more concise fashion, a more professional fashion than this, but I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on. I'm not going to beat around the bush. And without saying names, I'm not going to go ahead and run a show, run a podcast, and act all cookie cutter and act like these woes aren't a problem, because they are a problem. And while others may decide to hush-hush because they want to make sure that they're in great standing with the organization itself, among others, I am far more concerned about just watching the team that I live and breathe and die with play competent baseball to make me happy on a daily basis instead of this shit show that we watched for the past 2 months plus. So that's it. That's all I got for you. I'm out of here. Thank you guys again so much for watching. Hit that like and subscribe on your way out if you enjoyed the content.